Remember when wearing a mask was normal? Because it still is, in places all around the world. But there, it's not due to a pandemic, but it's due to air pollution. I used to live in Chiang Mai, where for 2 months of the year, we couldn't leave our houses without masks. There, every single year, the lives of more than 100,000 people were threatened. Farmers would burn organic waste up in the mountains. This smoke would get trapped and pollute the region with no way out. Bans were put in place in 2018, but even with active acts from the government, the burnings didn't stop. Instead, we had to resort to using masks and indoor air purifiers to just stay healthy. I had a science teacher in grade 6. During this time, he explained to us what a smog tower was. We wanted to build one, but we didn't get to. However, now, 2 years later, I've built my own. Some of you may be wondering, what's a smog tower? Well, these are a few examples. They're all different models, but they serve the same purpose: to clean air. The first smog tower was designed actually very recently, in 2015, by Dutch artist Dan Rozengaard. They've been implemented in a few other countries since, notably including India and China, which are two of the countries with the worst air pollution problems. Smog towers are actually quite simple. You use HEPA filters with fans that suck the air through and clean it. Mine is a little bit different, using biochar and bamboo. So, let's take a look. However, it's important to address the issue first: air pollution. We've heard about it before. After all, it's fairly common knowledge that flying is bad for the environment and that we should stop using fossil fuels. But did you know that every single year, 7 to 8 million people die from problems caused by air pollution? And out of that, more than 200,000 deaths come from Indonesia. However, Indonesia is far from the only country to suffer from this. Air pollution is a big problem, and not many of us realize truly how many people are affected by this and in how many places around the world. Right here, I've got 5,000 people. Now, let's imagine every single one of these people on this slide are children under the age of 5. If I were to show you 7 of these slides, that would show the amount of kids that die each year from problems caused by cancer. 80 of these slides would show malaria. And now, 340 of these slides would show the amount of kids that die each year from problems caused by air pollution. 9 out of 10 people breathe in polluted air. And out of those people, most live in poverty. Isn't it ironic that the people who suffer the most we know the least about, and they also get the least help? That is something I've been wondering for a very long time. And that's also where my project comes in. I'm hoping to make air filtration more accessible to those who can't afford to get the fancy air filters we have here and in Thailand. So, let's take a look, for real now. This was my first design. It had been used before as a small-scale model, as well as larger ones. It uses biochar and mycelium as filter, with a fan, carbonized bamboo, banana fiber paper, and wire mesh as parts. It's pretty complicated, and I knew that it'd be hard to build. But I had trust. I talked to Beck Benjamin, and things were actually going fairly well. Then, I got to talk to Peck Frank, who, by the way, is the architect who designed the bird lab, and had to redesign my whole project. Yay! However, I do think things turned out better this way. After all, this new design was easier, simpler to build, and probably saved me a lot of trouble in the long run. This is what it looks like, right here. It's a little bit different because it uses a bamboo cylinder as structure, but that makes it more functional, right? This one doesn't actually use mycelium as filter, but instead just biochar. Biochar, for those who don't know, is organic matter that's burnt in a low oxygen environment. It's high in carbon and really porous, which makes it perfect for my project. There's different compartments cut out at my project. However, only 3 out of the 5 are used. One of them, on top, was, as you might be able to tell from the cloth, a little bit broken, while the other one was sadly obstructing too much airflow. However, I kept going and nailed some wire mesh and cloth on the inside of each compartment. Sounds pretty simple, right? Well, it felt really simple starting out, but building something is a process, and I've found myself catching a lot of things while doing it. As a certified math nerd, I like to call my project the cos of pi times x. Little bit weird, kind of complicated, but it's pretty simple. It means that at first, I was really motivated and things were going great, until they weren't. But it ended fairly well, and I enjoyed it in the end. One thing I've learned from my project is that I am definitely better at improvising rather than planning beforehand. Almost every single time, someone would ask me where I would get a certain material or how I would make something. I had the same answer. I don't know. Felt really awkward, like I didn't know what I was doing and that I wasn't taking quests seriously. But I was. And now, I've learned to reframe it, simply saying that I'll figure it out, instead of, I don't know it. Sounds a bit more professional, right? After all, not all mistakes are bad. You might see that every single compartment is a different size. Could you call this a mistake? Sure. Is it bad? Not really. I simply noticed that the smaller ones were harder to work with, so I made them bigger. And it is tough to make something. I had to source each material, do a podcast episode, do research, write a speech, and keep up with all other classes. Sounds hard, and it is. My project is far from perfect. After all, the biochar still leaks, the fan doesn't work properly, it's hard to make. But this is just a prototype. There is a lot more I could still do with this project, and a lot more I can still say about it. For one, I'm very proud to announce that I will be presenting it at the Rainforest Youth Summit in Borneo later this month. My project shows what's possible to make with simple materials. We, as people, often underestimate our capabilities. Not everybody wants to attend rallies and post videos online. But there are other ways to be change makers. And this project shows how we can do that. If every single person in this room right now uses their abilities to make positive impacts on our world would be a much better place. So, let's all work together. Let's make breathing fresh air a right instead of a privilege. And in the words of Isaac Newton, truth is ever to be found in simplicity, and not the multiplicity and confusion of things. So start building, I guess. First, I want to thank Pac Benjamin, Ibu Jules, Ibu Angie, Ibu Laura, Pac Ram, and Pac Frank for helping me so much with my project every step of the way. Then, I want to thank all of my friends for always allowing me to talk about my project and complain about it when I hated myself. Or the project. Of course, I want to thank the iHub and carpentry staff for helping me so much behind the scenes, who often don't get a lot of credit for it. And then, I want to thank my parents and my sister for always being there for me and believing in me most of the time. Thank you.